Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday, the 26th of July, 2024. Hello to everyone watching. Hello to everyone in the chat. If you'd like to join the chat, just subscribe. You subscribe, wait for a minute, and then you can join the chat. But please, no abuse, no trolling, none of that nonsense. Okay, who's in the chat today? We've got Regan Elite. Hello, Regan Elite. We've got Billy Kershaw. We've got Roger in there. We've got Gareth. Colin Lunt is in there. We've got Lofty the Softy. Hey, we've got Viv Burgess, Craig. We've got Shropshire Chris and Gareth T. So sorry, a bit late this morning. My internet just stopped for some reason. I had to reset it. Which is always fun. Just as you're about to go live. So we're going to talk today about the press, about Leveson, about press intrusion, about the gutter rags of Fleet Street. All of which are owned pretty much by four non-dom billionaires who make all their money by spreading lies and dissent and dividing us as a nation and dividing us as a people. So there was a ITV documentary last night, and it was called the Press on Trial or something like that, Tabloids on Trial, and it was essentially about the phone hacking scandals that have been going on for years, up until and including in the time of the Leveson inquiry, or the Leveson inquiry. Sorry, it's got no N in it. Well, it's got one in. It doesn't have two. Leveson was supposed to have two parts. It was supposed to have a part where they investigated what was going on, and then the second part where they looked into possible collusion between agents of the state, police officers, etc., with the press. That Leveson 2 was dropped by the Tory government of. That Leveson 2 inquiry was dropped by the Tory government in 2018. Can't imagine why, considering it was a bit of a revolving door at the time between people who worked on Fleet Street. I know they don't work on Fleet Street anymore. I'm just going to use that as a shortcut to say the gutter press, the tabloids. People who worked on Fleet Street going to work in Downing Street and vice versa. It was all, Andy Coulson he was an editor of one of these rags, and then he was working for David Cameron. Jack Doyle was working for the Mail, and he went in to be the press secretary or the press comms person for Boris Johnson's reign of error during the parties that they had. He was part of the press group that decided they needed to have a party every Friday to let off some steam after doing all their hard work each day of producing a press release, which is one side of A4 that just gets sent. It's basically composing an email. There was a team of people. Each day they had to compose one email and send it to the press. Wow, that's a hard job. They really worked hard for their taxpayer-funded money, for their taxpayer-funded salary. Are you feeling any better? Worry about you, says Darren. Thanks for asking, mate. And the answer is no. Sorry. I wish I had better news, but my cough's getting worse. And I've got to the point now where if I start a coughing fit, I might just have to turn off the mic. I might have to turn off my camera as well for a moment while I get over it. And then I'll compose myself, and then I'll come back on the camera. I'm seeing the doctor today. I've already made an appointment this afternoon. So I've been on a course of antibiotics for a week. It's not touched the sides. Yeah. Hopefully it's not bronchitis. But yeah, anyway. But it keeps me going for learning the language, says Benjamin. Yeah, okay. Watto Peeps, says Howard in the chat. Evening Standard is NAF too. Yeah, well, it was owned by that Russian creep, wasn't it? Lebedev, Evgeny Lebedev, or what was his first name? I can't remember. He was the guy who invited Boris Johnson to a sex party in the Italian hills of Italy, and with his dad, who is a KGB agent, literally a KGB agent, who's been sanctioned by the Canadian government for being a massive KGB agent. I know it's called the FSB now, but I like to still go old school, I like to dead name them. Like Twitter. I like to dead name Twitter. And I will continue to do so. See another doctor. I'm seeing a different doctor. It's the same surgery. Graham, what's your view on the Manchester airport police guy kicking guy on floor video? It's absolutely abhorrent. It's shocking. It's disgusting. I hope that they throw the book at this police officer, and I want to know why he hasn't been arrested for assault yet. Well, we do know why he hasn't been arrested for assault yet, because they're all in on it, aren't they? Like, do you trust the police? This is a question to the chat. Do you trust the police anymore? Do you? Because I used to, and I don't anymore. Like, so much stuff has come out over recent years, especially to do with the Met, but also Manchester Police, Merseyside Police even were caught up in scandals. I don't trust them. The Tory government got rid of 20,000 experienced police officers and then replaced them with people who weren't vetted properly. They didn't even look at their social media to see what they've been saying or what they've been doing. So they allowed in a bunch of paedophiles, racists, nonces, rapists into the police force. And now there's thousands of them. And they go, oh, it's a few bad apples. Yeah, the expression is a few bad apples spoils the barrel. And in the case of the police in this country at the moment, it's not even a few bad apples. It's literally the whole barrel is rotten. And there needs to be reform, root and stem, reform in the police service to gain our trust back, if nothing else, because I don't trust them anymore. And I hate that. I used to be quite proud of the fact that our coppers didn't have guns like they do in other countries, notably in America. And they didn't seem to treat the rest of us as civilians like they do in America, where the police is increasingly militarized and they treat everyday people like you and I as the enemy. Like, we're the enemy. We're the people who need to be subdued. And I don't want that in this country. And I feel like encroaching of authoritarianism. Talking about authoritarianism, the sentencing note or the sentencing brief for the Just Stop Oil campaigners were released yesterday, PDF. It's only about 23 pages. It's worth a read. And it's just a really harsh sentence. There's just no getting away from it. He wants to make an example of them. But for a non-violent offence, for them to get that long. Meanwhile, Paula Radcliffe, who's a bit of a transphobe, who doesn't think that trans women should be able to compete in sport, thinks that it's perfectly acceptable for a literal paedophile who served 1 year in jail for, content warning, raping a child. 1 year in jail should be allowed to compete in the Olympics for his country. I don't know. Someone pointed out on the radio yesterday, and I thought it was a very good point. He's a volleyball player. In this country, he wouldn't be allowed to teach volleyball. Never mind represent the country. DBS check. Ovs. Gary, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Although I'm devastated. It says, doesn't matter how many times I subscribe, the channel doesn't remember me. I've been ghosted. I'm sorry to hear that, Gary. I've not ghosted you. It's bloody, Evgeny. Sorry, yes, Evgeny, that's his name. Lebedev. I'm sorry about that, Gary. It's YouTube playing silly buggers. What can you do? We need Kat on standby to take over. She's in a meeting at the moment, otherwise I was tempted. Maybe it's the tap water causing your cough. I've started boning my tap water now. Eek. Hilly Italian Sex Party. I think I need to form a prog rock band with that name. That actually not the band, but I think that would be a great name for the debut album. Katrina, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. That's really kind. Morning, Graham. Still reading your book. Maybe it is actually the tap water that's making you cough. I've been boiling my tap water for some time now. I don't know. It might be. I've had sort of a lingering cough like this before, but never quite this bad and never quite this prolonged. It's been over 3 weeks now. So yeah, don't worry. I'm taking care of myself. This is Lemsip, by the way, in here. It's not actually Tory Tears. But if you want a mug that says Tory Tears, they are available using the link below. The only police I trust are on TV shows, well, apart from Line of Duty, eh? Jane says, I was high-ranking civilian in the police headquarters of my city. The police I worked with under me had integrity. They were very old school, clipping around the ear type, but good. Yeah, Jane, I believe there were a lot of good police officers. I don't know how long ago you were working as a civvy in the police headquarters, But what I'm saying is now, I mean, there's just been so many scandals that trust has been breached in the same way that like people don't trust Tories anymore. Yeah, I know it's not helpful because there are people who are very good police officers to tar them all with the same brush. But I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm saying that the trust has been broken. You know, what's that movie where they talk about the circle of trust? Meet the parents. Circle of trust. That circle of trust has been broken, Greg. I keep getting unsubscribed for some channels. I thought it was a virus. Oh, that's from Gary. Oh, that's interesting. Feel better, Graham. I bought your book in physical and Kindle. Oh, thank you, Anuska. That's really, really kind of you, and thank you for the super chat. Hope you enjoy it. 2 laughs or your money back. Even back in 2016, it was happening, says Benjamin. I don't know if that's talking about coughs or the police or the phone hacking. Phone hacking continued on into the 2010s, even when these bastards were on trial. Andy Coulson famously being charged, being found guilty, and Rebecca Brooks getting away with it because of her sugar daddy. So I was discussing this. So for those who didn't watch the show, there were interviews with a number of famous celebrities. Gaza, who had his life ruined, partly by the press. I mean, he had his own demons to deal with, and the press just made it so much worse. There was a discussion that he had with his mum and dad, which ended up on the front, in the newspapers. And how do you feel? How would you feel if that happened to you? You have a conversation with, on the phone with your mum, and you are the only 2 people who've had that conversation, and then that appears in the press the next day. So you think either your mum is selling stories to the press about you for $5,000, or you think everything's bugged. There's bugs in my house. They're bugging my phone. You get like mad paranoid, wouldn't you? And paranoia drives people into the depths of mental illness. And if you're someone who's vulnerable anyway, like Gaza was, possibly still is, I mean, it could be a death sentence. I don't say that lightly. And then there was Hugh Grant, there was Charlotte Church, both of whom were just hounded mercilessly and had their private phone calls bugged. There's an interview from 2003 with Piers Morgan where Charlotte Church actually asks him about this. And he says, well, there's a factory setting to listen to your email, to listen to your voicemails, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you can't be bothered, if you're so lazy, you can't be bothered changing it. Well, it's your own lookout. He's such a twat. I hate that man. And here we are, 21 years later, and he's still there, smug, penis-faced gobshite, going, well, I didn't hack anyone's phone. We've got you on video admitting to it. Yeah, but I didn't do that. That wasn't me. I don't. Anyway, one of the more serious people, I don't mean what's serious allegations in terms of the, I don't want to talk about like a more important person who got hacked, but let's talk about the level of crime that has been committed. So, I think it's Article 12 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. If someone wants to look that up quickly on YouTube, on Google or TikTok or Bing, other search engines are available. DuckDuckGo. If they want to look this up, Article 12, I think that is the right to privacy. Have a read of it. It says that people have a right to privacy, no matter who they are. Anyway, you go up the sort of ranks of the level of criminality. So bugging and listening to the phone messages of celebrities, one thing, okay? And then you've got to go into the murky waters. There was a 7/7, not a survivor, but a first responder who was just, a regular guy, and he was helping out after the 7/7 bombings back in 2005. And he was hounded. So that's another level. You think, bloody hell, they've gone after members of the public. Millie Dowler had her messages listened to by the press. And they deleted messages when her inbox became full. They interfered with an active investigation. So now you're at another level of criminality. But it goes even higher than that. And you think, how could it be worse than hacking the voicemail and deleting voicemails from a murdered teen during an active murder investigation? It looks like they might have hacked Gordon Brown. And that is a whole nother level. Maybe not like as morally bankrupt as hacking a dead teenager's phone, but when it comes to seriousness of an offence, that's espionage. That's a crime against the state. The guy was the prime minister. Hacking his communications. That, until unbelievably recently, came with a death penalty in this country. And it looks like they did it. I mean, allegedly, it hasn't gone to court. But here's the thing, and here's the thing that really sticks in my craw, and obviously sticks in the craw of people like Hugh Grant. So he would have won his case for phone hacking, except, and it was against the scum, I think, this particular one, but it's the scum, it's the Mail, the Express, I think, also the Mirror Group, which was when Penis Morgan was the head of that. He was the editor. Sorry, he wasn't the head of the group. He was the editor of the Mirror. Hugh Grant pointed out that because of the way the court system works in the United Kingdom, they don't want to take civil cases. They would rather civil cases are settled out of court. So they have a mechanism to stop civil cases from being, sorted out in court. And it goes like this. You are made an offer. Let's say it's £10 million by The Sun, News of the World, the Murdoch gutter press. You are offered £10 million to not go to court, to settle out of court, as I say. You say no. It goes to court. And you win. Because they did hack your phone. They did bug your office. They did break into your apartment. You win. And the judge orders them to pay £9 billion. Sorry, £9 billion. Wow, that'd be great, wouldn't it? £9,999.99, 1 penny less than you were offered. What happens? You have to pay all the court costs, which can come to £10 million. Cheers. So, that's why so many of these cases have been settled out of court, because the British legal system is stacked against people bringing litigation against these monsters to prove a point, to maybe even start criminal proceedings, which are never going to happen if it keeps on being out of the public eye, it keeps getting scribbled away. No big trial in the High Court. No, we'll settle out of court. And that's why some of our hope is pinned on Prince Harry, because he's determined to go all the way. He's got the money, he's got the power, he's got the influence to go all the way. And he was interviewed for the show, and he talked about, how the press, I don't think it was the only reason. I think, with any family, you have disagreements, you have fallings out, etc. But because of the way the press treated him and his brother and his dad and his grandmother and his mum, they killed his mum. They literally drove Harry's mum to death with their constant hounding for exclusive pictures. Because if you don't get your exclusive pictures, then you can't feed your children. Maybe they should think about getting a proper job, eh? Anyway, so we're pinning our hopes on Prince Harry. I was hoping there'd be a bit more in the press this morning about the show, but there isn't, and I'm going to come to that in a moment. Thank you very much to Ivan so much for the £5 super chat. 30p Lee's statement yesterday about the appalling behaviour and misconduct of Greater Manchester Police was absolutely disgusting. I couldn't agree more. Reform politician, Reform MP. He said that the police officer who kicked a man who was on the ground, face down, with his hands behind his back, he kicked him in the head. And Lee Anderson, Reform MP, piece of shit, said that that police officer should be given a medal. Can you go and tell that to anyone that you know or that you meet who has voted for refuck? Just tell them. Just say, how do you feel about that, eh? Do you agree with him? If they do agree with them, get rid of that person out of your life. I mean, I know it's hard. I know that, it takes years to build up a nice relationship with somebody else. But seriously, if they think that that kind of conduct is not just acceptable, but is worthy of giving someone a medal, that person is a psychopath. And I don't care whether they are, your bestie, your neighbor, your colleague, could be even a close relative. Stay away from them. Send them a Christmas card once every 5 years, if you remember. Just get that person out of your life because they're a wrong 'un. I mean, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Anyway, George, thank you very much for the £5. Patel politicised the police, so now they serve the state first and not the public. Really, really good point there from George. And thank you for the super chat, mate. Yeah, that's the attitude. They're there to serve us. They're there to protect us, not the state, not the government, not whoever. They're there for us. They were established in the 1830s, and the line was, we will be policed by consent, the consent of us. Okay? It's not a case of, this surveillance state of, we're looking out for any little crime or misdemeanor, we're going to get you and kick you in the head. No, just absolutely not. And I don't care what that guy did before. Put him on trial. The guy who was attacked who was kicked in the head in Manchester Airport, he committed crimes. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he committed crimes. I'm sure that's why the police were, arresting him, whatever. Fine. That's for the courts to decide. That's for a judge, a jury, whatever. Okay, that's the legal system now. What that copper did was just pure revenge. It was just pure anger, like uncontrollable anger. And he should go down for it. He should go down for that. We live in a society in which you get 5 years for organising a peaceful protest, a disruptive protest, but a peaceful protest nonetheless. I mean, kicking someone in the head when they're on the ground like that, yeah, it should be 10 years. One of the least they should do is put him on trial, arrest him. Johnny Copperhead, thank you very much. I think one thing that could unify most of this sadly divided country is the holding of Morgan for espionage. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? But before I read that, I just sort of glanced over it and I thought you were going to say Diane Morgan, who does Philomena Kunk. Like, could she unite the country? I think she could. I really think she could. One Angry Pagan, thank you very much for the £2 super chat there, mate. That's really kind. The Governor and Crown Estate partnership on GB Energy. Yay, nay. Yay, 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 yay. The Crown Estate should not have any land. Like, all things being equal, it's bollocks. Like, if someone dies without a will or dependents in Liverpool, the money goes to the Crown Estate. The money goes to Prince Charles. Can you believe that? No. For every community, for every city in the country, if someone dies and they've got to, and there's no one to give the money to, it goes to the local authority. It goes to the place where they live or the place where they died. That's fair. It shouldn't go to a guy who's already a multi-billionaire. That's not fair. That's not right. But if you could take money from someone who's not with us anymore and didn't leave a will and has no dependents and then use it to build a child's playground or put a plaque with their name on it saying, we couldn't have done this without person X, whoever it is, then, great, giving back to your community. That money should go to your community, not to the Crown lands. So, but Crown lands exist. I don't think we're going to be able to take them off the king anytime soon, short of doing a whole French Revolution thing. And I don't think we're going to do that anytime soon. We are still a little bit of a deeply conservative country with a small c. But I do think that using that land for green energy is a genius move, an absolutely genius move, because it feels like it's coming together. Prince Charles, famously an environmentalist, he cares about the environment. He doesn't want his grandchildren growing up in a poverty, drought, famine-stricken world, millions of refugees having to move where they're from because of climate change. Nearly every single civilization that has ever existed has failed, partly due, or sometimes or completely due to climate change. And read up about the first settlers on Iceland who had a great harvest for the first year, and then they realised there wasn't any nutrients left in the soil. Well, they probably didn't know about nutrients back then, but nothing growed the second year because that was just the way the soil was. And they were like, shit, we're starving now. That's no good. Or the people of Rapa Nui, Easter Island, who cut down all their trees to build their lovely, to move and help build their lovely big, is it Maui? I don't know, Maui statues, the big statues that they have, the big faces. And they destroyed their own environment. They destroyed their own climate. And they all starved to death. And then you've got the modern example of Nauru in the Pacific Ocean, a place where I spent 4 days about 10 years ago. And it used to be one of the richest countries in the world. Per capita, it was the richest country in the world in the 1980s when there was loads of easy to reach phosphate. They took all that away. All the bird shit, the guano, took it all away. And where they were left with the coral pinnacles, badland scrub in the middle of the island, a country that provided fertile nitrates and things like that for other countries. Phosphates, nitrates, one of them. So they could do their farming. This country that gave this fertilizer to the rest of the world, and also good use for explosives as well. So it's a dark side of it. And yet couldn't grow food itself because it destroys its own climate. And we're seeing that on just a global scale now. So you've got Prince Charles, who is an environmentalist, and then you've got the government, which is obviously the green agenda is being pushed by Ed Miliband, who's very evangelical about it. Thank God. No, screw him. Thank goodness. As we saw with Trump a couple of weeks ago, there is no God. Anyway, so bringing those two things together, because it means that there can't be the objections that you had in the past. Obviously, one of the first things Labour did was to lift the effective ban on onshore wind farms. They want to stop NIMBYism in its tracks because it's just got to such an excessive point now where no one wants anything built anywhere ever, which is destroying the economy of the country and destroying the social fabric of the country in many ways. Use the crown lands. I'm just a bit sad that they'll get a cut of the money that's raised. I don't think they should. I think we should just be allowed to use the crown lands because they should just be owned by the country, not by one very, very rich man. Dates back to Thatcher's army, aka SYP. What's that? The Special Patrol Group. What? Thanks, Alan, for the super chat. The Crown Estate is run by and for the government. That's what I mean. No one can object to it. Like, in the same way they could object to things being built on private land. Hey up, Graham. They're Moai. And I was nearly there, wasn't I? I was kind of Maui. Hugh, are you just a bot set to make some bad takes? Hugh Janus. So now you love Sausage Fingers because he's involved with Labour's investment scheme. Nice one, Graham. I don't love him. It's fun how I can say something that goes, this is a good thing that's happening. And people have to go, oh, that means that you're evil and that you support the idea that someone in a fancy hat gets to lord over the rest of us because of right of birth. No, I don't think that. I'd rather do away with the monarchy. Thank you very much. I don't want a presidential system. I quite like the idea of having like a citizen monarch, like king for a year or queen for a year, alternating. And it's a civic position, like a lord mayor of a city. You go in and open supermarkets and represent the country around the world. Be boss. And it's not elected, it's just a lottery. So it could be you. You get to be king for a year. That'd be boss. Get to shit in a gold toilet. I would agree, Charles more of a naturalist than an environmentalist. Okay, fair enough. I won't argue with that. No Antarctic drilling possible till before 2049 when treaty is up for renewal. I mean, the Antarctic Treaty is kind of remarkable. It was at 1949 that it was signed, Howard. Let me know in the chat. I think it was. So you're talking about the beginning of the Cold War. Russia is quickly developing nuclear weapons. America's got nuclear weapons. The UK, under a Labour government, is developing nuclear weapons. And they all got together and said, hands off the Antarctic, which is something I don't think they will do today. Imagine because the oil lobbyists and all those bastards, they'll all be like, no, I'll give you loads of money to drill. We need to just drill. We need to continuously drill. We need to keep drilling, which is not good. Obama just endorsed Kamala. Aha! Yeah, sorry, Kamala. Oh my God, that's awesome news from Jane Lockwood. Good. I'm very glad that has just happened. Hopefully that will give her another bump. The only man Graham loves is David. Oh yeah, absolutely. Misread that as Charles is a naturist. Sausage fingers. Hello, ladies. My head is killing me, says Duke Vengeance. I know how you feel, mate. Like Prince Philip, when he wasn't shooting grouse and pheasants, he was president of the World Wildlife Fund. It's mad, isn't it? That's a really good point, actually, because there's loads of land that is just being ruined by like people who want to hunt, people who want to shoot birds, like rich people who own these big estates that drain the peat bog so they can shoot things that don't need to be dead for some reason because they think that's fun. I mean, there's a certain element of being a psychopath that comes hand in hand, it seems, with being part of the aristocracy or the neo-aristocracy. It's a bit scary. I don't know if it's a product of inbreeding or a product of breeding, of how they were brought up. But either way, there's a lot of people who think that it's perfectly acceptable to go and kill an animal that they're not even going to eat and shoot it for sport, or have dogs rip it apart for sport. And I'm like, okay, you know the kid in school who pulled the legs off insects, yeah, and then turned out to be a wrong un. Like that in him. One Angry Pagan, thank you very much. The whole GB Energy initiative is reforms upon reforms. It's about getting investments and giving confidence that they will deliver returns. I think they will. I mean, we are ripe for it, and the Tories whinging about it. It makes me laugh. Going to go on to the papers very quickly. I've gone over time a little bit, but I was a few minutes late getting started because my stupid internet needs a resetting. Team GB to fly in their own chef after Paris food boycott. Apparently the food in Paris is awful, which is somewhat ironic. Hospitals have gone unchecked for 10 years. Stunned, Streeting says CQC unfit for purpose. This is where Streeting's assessments of the current state of the NHS and the NHS regulator, and he's come down on that like a ton of bricks. We are not a cult, cleverly reminds Tories in the Times there. Okay. And then Chancellor to reveal £19 billion black hole in finances. I could do a whole episode on this. I probably will on Monday because that's being revealed on Monday. Been ahead of the game there. And then there's a beautiful young woman on the front cover of the Telegraph because she's an athlete. I mean, we've got 200, 300 other athletes who are competing in the Paris Games, which start tonight, or the opening ceremony is tonight. But, mob rule warning over Manchester policing protest. There was a protest yesterday in Manchester. Esther's heart lifted at the hope of dying in favourite place. No mention of the ITV programme last night, if you notice. Labour's and then the Mail. I mean, look at this. Look at this scumbaggery from the Mail. Labour's £300 green energy bill saving. Lie. Right? They put lie in inverted commas. It's not a lie. It's just that a Tory has said it's a lie. Now flip that. Could you imagine them putting that about the Tories because someone in Labour said that's something that they said was a lie, being on the front cover like that? I hate these things. I hate these rags. They only do this press review thing because I want to just, I want us to know our enemy, what we're up against. And then this disgusting Jam Moore, who's a columnist for this shit rag. Harry just made his most outrageous and sanctimonious claim to date. This is to do with the press ruining relations with his family. The press that killed his mother. Let's not forget. Stab frenzy, soldier's hero wife. This is kind of like a bit sensationalist, but there was the way they've reported it here. Stab frenzy soldier. It could be him that's doing the stab frenzy. Not very well written. And man in court on murder bid rap. I guess they have to fit the letters in for the front page, and the way that, I don't know. I just don't like the way they reported that at all. And obviously nothing in the Mirror about last night's ITV documentary. Guardian Chancellor to reveal 20 billion. Oh, we've got extra 1 billion on the Telegraph. Shortfall in public finances. Israel and Hamas deal closer than ever. The US, Kamala Harris, spoke to Netanyahu yesterday and said, you need to stop this war. And that was brilliant. Thank you, Kamala, for bloody saying that and not pussyfooting around. The staunch defense of cat ladies from Jennifer Aniston, who famously went through many rounds of IVF trying to get pregnant. IVF that the incoming Trump administration, if they win, want to make illegal across America. And this J.D. Vance creep, he actually voted against the bill that would see the right to IVF be enshrined for all Americans across the country. And he voted it down. It was one of many, but he voted against it. And then he had a pop at Kamala Harris for not having children. I won't go on. Starmer warned against pension tax hit for 7 million savers. This is more, the lifting up the rocks of what's been left by the Tories, and it's not a pretty sight. Police officer suspended as outrage grows after head stamp arrest. Honestly, it shouldn't just be suspended. He should be arrested and brought before a judge. Revolt eyes expansion after winning 3-year battle for banking license. Revolut, which is a bank card. And then 4 billion Olympics support for Team GP. Sorry. Team GP, on your marks, get set, gold. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ivan. Wow, £50 super chat. Thank you, sir. I need to get my mega chat animation up on this. Thank you so much for that, mate. That's really kind of you. Graham, I hope the doctor gets you sorted later. I can't remember the name, but someone raised the other day about doing a session about mental health and autism. It would be great to do this. I know you've raised this too. Yeah, Ivan, I definitely want to do that for How We Fix Britain. It's going to be one of the episodes, absolutely, definitely. Mental health, autism, ADHD, depression, borderline personality disorder. We want to cover a lot of the things that people are dealing with, and how they're dealing with it, and how it affects them, and how it affects the people in their life, and how we can make small adjustments to make these people's lives more bearable, not just for them, but also for their families. And those reasonable adjustments are things that we can put in place tomorrow. The only reason that we don't is the gammon press go, oh, it's all woke. Look how woke it is. It's all woke. Whinge, whinge, whinge. It's all woke, woke, woke. Ambrosia in abundance. Someone get Ivan on a live stream. Yeah, Billy, absolutely. And Michael, when Ivan Bushnell self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, Jesus Christ. Commander DJ Burp says JD Vance laughable. Once gay, then wasn't. Also caught having getting biblical with a sofa. Let's put it that way. Graham, was there anything in Labour's manifesto regarding press reform or Leveson too? So why the big rant about media reform when it's not going to happen? No, there wasn't, and Starmer has said it's not a priority. I'm going to be talking about this more with Phil at 1:00. Thank you very much for segueing us into that for the agenda, because Phil's very good at picking out what is said in a manifesto and how that relates to what Labour can actually do. But I don't know if press reform is going to happen in the next year or Leveson 2 is going to happen in the next year. Wasn't in the King's speech, and I think Labour have just got so much shit to get on with to do with getting the country back on its feet after years of Tory misrule and misconduct, sadism, that it's going to take a while. But I do think that it will happen in this in this term of government. I think in the next 5 years we are going to see something. Don't forget, it was Starmer as head of the Director of Public Prosecutions who brought the case against the News of the World that led to the News of the World having to pack up and piss off forever. Piece of shit newspaper that it was. That was instantly replaced by The Sun on Sunday, written by and made by the same people, just in a slightly different office. Owned by the same person. George, thank you very much. Vance politicizes children, nasty. Yeah, I mean, having children doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you a better person. I know there are millions of really great parents out there. There are also millions of very, very bad parents out there. And the result of their bad parenting is that they send their children out into the world when they become adults, and they might not integrate into society as we would like. Let's put it that way. And I know it's kind of lazy to blame the parents when someone does something wrong, but I honestly believe that in cases like in America, where this lad went into a school and murdered a load of kids in the school, shot himself, the parents were actually put on trial and found guilty for not bringing up their kid correctly and not blowing the whistle. And I know there's going to be kids who grow up to turn into little psychopaths, and their parents gave them nothing but love and support. And I don't think that they should be demonized in any way. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who are parents who just, quite frankly, shouldn't be. And I don't think there should be a law on who can and cannot have children by any stretch of the imagination. But I will be partial to a system in which you sign up when you and your partner, if your partner is available, when you're pregnant, your first child, you sign up for a course, like a Sure Start kind of thing. It's not compulsory. You don't have to do it. But if you don't do it, then the authorities might keep a closer eye on you than they otherwise would. Let's put it that way. Okay, it can't be compulsory, but I would like because no one knows what they're doing when they become a parent. Everyone's making it up as they go along. Everyone's doing the best they can. I get wound up by seeing these perfect families on Instagram where everyone's smiling and all. They have their perfect parenting bullshit. It's never like that in real life. Parenting's difficult. Parenting is hard. And I feel like we should give people the tools to be able to cope with it, thrive, make sure that they're all right. Look out for signs of things like postnatal depression, things like that, and give people the support that they deserve as citizens of this country. I'd like to see that. So I don't want to see like state interference to the point of we're going to decide whether you can have kids or not. but I would like the resources to be put into helping new parents, especially, become the best parents that they can possibly be. Having said all that, being a parent, like I said, doesn't make you a good person, and I hate it when it gets weaponized, and they only do this to women. Imagine if Kamala Harris had 5 children to 3 different men. What would they be saying about her? So that's what Trump's got. That's what Boris Johnson's got. Actually, he's got more. Gary DeSantis, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. May not be able to join the mental health chat, working as a mental health nurse. Look at stress bucket theory in advance. Okay, mate, I'll look that up. Stress bucket theory. Okay, I will check that out. I've just got a book called ADHD 2.0, which is apparently quite good for people who have ADHD, which I don't think is a disorder. I think it should be attention deficit, attention hyperactivity deficit superpower. David, thank you very much for the 23 Hong Kong dollars all the way from Hong Kong. Thank you very much for that. And the last one of the morning, because I really need to go, and I probably need to go and gargle some salt water. I'll boil it first. Johnny Cobhead, thank you very much for the £5 super chat there. Trump has kids. I mean, in this case, has fathered kids. He's definitely not a good person. Geez, he's had kids. Yeah, well, he's probably had kids as well. He was very good friends with Epstein, which needs to be pointed out as much as humanly possible. It's very interesting that all the little Trumpsters were going on and on about Epstein. Release the Epstein list, release the Epstein files, and then they came out and they suddenly went very quiet indeed, because their man Trump was all over them. You're wrong, Grave. Social services in some boroughs are terrible. My kids were born in Tottenham. By the time the youngest was 4, we left for good reason. Mike, I agree. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the social services at the moment are great. They're not. I'm saying that the government need to provide the services so that social services and services for new families are there. They're not there at the moment. The Tories have cut services to the bone. They have cut city councils' budget from central government by up to 50%. And so anything that's not absolutely essential has been cut. And then you've got problem with mismanagement of local councils as well. City councils, like we've seen in Liverpool in recent years. Not great for the people who live there. My point isn't that social services are the be all and end all. At the moment, they are not. I would like them to be resourced, properly funded, have the people who are working there properly trained, and give people the service that I think they should get when they become parents. If you want to watch a really, really amazing clip of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just being an absolute queen, there was a clip of her. I don't know if it was during a select committee hearing type thing in America, but she was talking about letting the market. She was asking questions about talking about letting the market decide. She said to this woman, "So you don't believe in minimum wage?" And the woman's like, "No, I think this market should decide. You should decide whether your time is worth doing that job." Okay, and you don't believe in mandatory health insurance if you get a job? No, I don't believe in that. It should be up to the person who's going for the job if they want to take the job, knowing that it comes with no healthcare. This is a woman who's obviously rich, born rich, I don't know, but like she's never had to take a job because she's been desperate to feed her children. She doesn't even take into account desperation. And then AOC says, okay, what about maternity leave? Do you think that there should be statutory maternity leave? Something that exists in over 190 countries around the world, including Saudi Arabia. The only countries in the world where it doesn't exist are, I think, someone can look this up, I think it's Papua New Guinea, Suriname, and the United States of America. What's the average maternity leave after a mum has a baby? 6 weeks. 6 weeks, not mandatory. That's just the average, right? 6 weeks. And then she said, how long under our law does a dog a bitch have to stay with their puppies before those puppies can be sold? And the answer was 8 weeks. And so AOC is brilliant at doing this because she built it all up to this point of just like, She doesn't just come out with it. She builds it up and builds it up bit by bit. She's a genius for doing this. And she said, so we give more rights to dogs than we do to new mothers. We give new rights to puppies than we do human babies to spend time with their mother. And the woman's like, yeah, USA. Brilliant. Absolute masterclass in how to destroy someone's stupid argument that you should let the market decide how much we pay people. The market's going to take advantage of desperation and the need to feed people's children and to get, help pay for your inhalers, which is ridiculously, or any medical procedure in America is ridiculously expensive. Pay off your student debt. The same AOC that supported Biden and said he shouldn't stand down. That AOC, Graham, yes. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I wonder about people like this who are just like, they mustn't have any friends because they must walk around each day and then one little thing that person does that they regard as wrong, or maybe just regard as wrong in hindsight, they're like, that's it, I'm done with them. Must be a lonely life. Anyway, right, I don't live that life. Anyway, so I'm going to go now. I'll be back at 1 o'clock with Phil for Morning Brew. This is Morning Brew. For the agenda. This has been Morning Brew on Politics Social. I've been Graham Hughes. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for the chat. Thank you for the super chats, especially. That's really kind of you. I'm going to try and get better as soon as possible. But until then, I'll say, give us a like on the way out. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.